So, hi. Today we have this another meeting for Meet.js, and I'm Szymon. I'm glad that I was invited to give a presentation about some stuff related to JavaScript. So today presentation will be related to automated tests and some kind of high-level tests which simulate this, what user can do. Yes, automated tests. They supposed to simulate this, what user can do in the interface. And sometimes it might be tricky, it might be easy. It depends what kind of interface you have for test. And there are different tools that can allow you to create some kind of automated test. For instance, Selenium, which will simulate this, what user will do in the browser. For instance, you can combine it with Cucumber, with Capybara, to create this whole stack for creating acceptance criteria, not acceptance criteria, for creating acceptance tests that supposed to verify that the system, from the interface perspective, works in the way it's supposed to when you were creating the system initially. And taking these acceptance tests, which usually are long, you have a happy path that will take a user through certain views, you can take and you can define more focused version as a kind of smoke tests that will be executed when you deploy a system each time. And sometimes you may have these expectations that after each deployment or before, it should be verified against some kind of test suite. So automated tests sometimes can be also a pain in the ass when you have some kind of requests which are not predictable. So sometimes a request may take 3 seconds, sometimes it can take half a second. Then you have to create some workarounds this, like kind of sleeps, waits, loops. And this is pain actually, to create stable, predictable tests. And debugging also can be pain in the ass, as when you execute a test, for instance, using Selenium, you do not have this direct access to the elements that are displayed within the page. You will see, for instance, a screenshot of a page before the error happened, for instance, in the test, or you may see some recording of that, but this is not as, I think, as it should be, as close to this what we should have. So today's talk will be, I think, will be about the tool that seems to be the next step in the testing journey in automated tests. So firstly, I will give you a short intro to Cypress. Secondly, some details about Cypress. And thirdly, some lessons learned that we had during Cypress development. So Cypress is a tool created in JavaScript. It uses Electron, but the code you can create in JavaScript or TypeScript, depending on what you want. And that sometimes is closer when you develop, for instance, Angular code, which is JavaScript, or React. You can develop tests along the way as well. So firstly, you should install it, and it is as simple as using npm install Cypress. Secondly, it's good to specify a small script in the package.json file that will tell, okay, the Cypress, it can be opened from this under this command. And thirdly, opening Cypress. After executing the last command, you will see this window in which it will tell you there are 4 new folders created. The first one is features, in which you can specify some dummy data that you can use across test suite. Secondly, integration. This is the place where actually you have your tests. Thirdly, you have plugins that can interact with internals of Cypress, so you can modify certain things inside. And fourthly, it is support, where you can create some code that will be shared across your tests. So the next step, after accepting this window, you will see this first window where you have just one test. It's called example spec. And this spec, it tests the Cypress itself. So this test contains all the methods that you can use in Cypress. So you can easily see the first time, okay, I have this method, these methods, I can use these methods, and they are tested, so you can see what kind of expectations you may have. So to execute tests, you can click the button or you can click just a single test by clicking the file name. And this is so cool. So when you open a test, on the left, you will see all the steps from a test, from a spec file. And on right, you will see the test itself. So it is kind of inception, a browser inside of a browser. And why it is cool? Because on left you have all the tests, on right you have the browser in one place, so you can inspect what happens in the test. So the first cool feature is a kind of step-by-step walk. So when you have a test, you can step-by-step investigate what was displayed in the interface. For instance, when you have this query selector, it will be selected and it will be shown, okay, this kind of button is selected. When you move to the other one will be selected. The interactive console which is added, that for instance on the left you have this, this error displayed, that something should be displayed but the header does not contain the text. You can click that easily and then it will be displayed in the console. And really cool feature from that is that you can reveal this element in the elements list. So at any given point of the test, you can inspect the HTML itself inside from the page, which is not possible in Selenium from just a screenshot or from a video. And the next thing is that when you have this list, all the things like communication with the backend, it will be recorded there. So you can inspect what kind of requests are sent. And if there is need, for instance, to wait for given request, you can specify the conditions. So you do not have to use the sleep, but you can specify, okay, this kind of request is sent, so I want to wait for that before executing or proceeding to the next step. So you can inspect that in the console. And the last part, but not least, is documentation. It has, I think, all the details that you need to know to work with Cypress. So there is huge documentation for that, with some examples. And what kind of lessons we had? Currently, Cypress is limited to only two browsers. One is Chrome, and the second is Electron. So they're supposed to add IE and Safari and Firefox. Sometimes you need to execute the same test against different browsers. The second thing is that when you have a session and you may be expecting that between tests the session will be reset, for instance, half or off, then it is not true. The session will persist between different tests. And that sometimes might be an issue because you need to create some kind of if conditions. If something is in the page, click that, differently, click something else. What is good, it is really easy to create, debug, investigate. So it seems to be the next step in the test development. And the other thing is that if you want to use Cypress for smoke tests, you can create a Docker image with that will be executed between deployments or before the deployment. And that's it. Okay, thank you.